Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Roofing and Remodeling Podcast. Today, a special guest from our local high school, Rushville Consolidated High School Junior, Miss Meredith. And today, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll talk about what we're going to chat about today.
So, my parents are Mike and Sarah Irwin. I am a twin, and then I have a younger brother. I'm the owner and operator of Field of Poppies Dairy Goats that raises show quality dairy goats to show around the state. That's kind of the most about me. I plan to attend pre-vet once I graduate and hopefully come back home and be a mixed practice vet here.
Awesome. So what brings you in today? You reached out to us and wanted to talk about mental health in in rural America, rural Indiana. And you're working on a project through Living to Serve plan, which you came back with from going to the FFA Washington, D.C. trip that I believe happens in the summer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'll let you kind of give a little bit of the story of the D.C. trip and then, kind of how this all came about.
Okay, so the D.C. trip, I took it this past summer where I went with 5 other members of the Rushville FFA chapter and spent a week at the Omni Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. It's a leadership conference with FFA members from all over the country. I had members in my group from, I think, almost 10 different states. And over this week, we develop our Living to Serve plans, which is a way to give back to our communities. We travel and see different monuments. We do a lot of community service projects, and it's just a time to kind of reflect and grow our leadership abilities.
So you do some community service projects in Washington, D.C.?
Yes. So while we were there, we packed meals for the homeless and that were donated to food banks.
Man, too bad you didn't drain the swamp while you were out there.
Yeah, we were there the week that all the Canadian wildfires were going on.
Oh, crap.
So it was smog.
Okay. So that's kind of what brought you into this program. So we've got some facts sitting in front of us, but I guess go ahead and, so my understanding is you're doing an event.
Yes.
So go ahead and give them details. We'll make sure we share that when we post a podcast, but we'll make sure we reshare it closer to time because I know it's not till August.
So this program is called Healthy Minds, Healthy Lives, and it promotes mental health in rural America and in agriculture. This is funded through the Indiana State Department of Agriculture and put on by the Rural Health Association of Indiana. So this is going to be August 15th at the Ag Building, which is at 1501 North Sexton Street. It covers the mental health landscape in Indiana, information about telehealth, the Purdue Stress Program resources, question, persuade, and refer training, and then mental health resources that people can refer to. And we're going to start off with a youth session from 5 to 6, and then following we're going to have a meal from Copper Kettle from 6 to 6:30. And then from 6:30 to 8:30, we're going to host an adult session that's going to cover all those topics I just listed.
So what? That's in August. What day of the week is that? Do you know?
It's a Wednesday.
So Wednesday night. Are you guys back in school quite yet or not?
Yeah, we'll be back in school. It should be about our second week.
Okay. August 15th. I can't always keep track of that. So at the Ag Building here in Rushville, any adult is welcome?
Yes.
Okay. Put on by the State Agricultural Association with the state. Okay, just trying to get some details out there, but kind of share your story, like why is this your Living to Serve plan?
So this has always kind of started as mental health is a topic that I find really important, especially because there are so many people, not only my age, but in agriculture that are struggling with mental health, and it's always kind of been a stigma to not talk about it. And so I kind of want to get it out there in the open and help address those problems to help kind of keep our community in a better kind of headspace.
So I guess you kind of hit on, all the topics and everything that's going to be spoken of. Mm-hmm. Who is actually leading? Like, who will do the speaking? That kind of stuff.
I believe it's led by. If you give me just a second.
Oh, you're good.
Find it.
I'm pretty good sales guy, so I can kind of mumble and.
Kathy Walker.
Okay, so is she like where? Who does she work with?
So she works with the Rural Health Association of Indiana.
Okay. Okay, no, perfect. All right, like I said, like kind of dive in a little deeper. Have you helped any? Is there other communities doing the same thing? Is this kind of, how? Talk a little bit about that.
So this program's been funded for a little bit now by the Indiana State Department of Agriculture, and I know there's other chapters in the state that have held it. I believe there was one up in Tippecanoe. Okay. But I don't know that there have been any near us.
Okay. So normally it's a local FFA chapter that teams up with the state department.
Local FFA chapter. She had told me that there was a school, I can't remember which one it was, but they had her in, and she talked to every student in the high school. Okay. So it's not just FFA chapters, it can be businesses, schools, really anybody that wants to host this program can.
Okay. So no, I mean, thank you for the initiative. Like, I'm a big fan of when youth wants to step up. Like I'm kind of on a, me and my wife been visiting a bunch of classes that we sponsor at the high schools, and I just love to hear kids and what they're wanting to do, and like, at your age, your willingness to do this isn't, an easy feat. So I guess kind of give some of the details, kind of the, unfortunately probably the ugly statistics, just to, may help open some eyes for some people.
So according to a CDC article, as of 2017, nearly 38,000 people committed suicide in the U.S.
And that's every year?
That's every year. And the top 5 groups at risk for suicide are people in the mining, quarrying, oil and gas extraction industries, construction, what they categorize as other services, and they categorized automotive services into that. Agricultural, forestry, and hunting, particularly males in hunting, and then transportation and warehousing.
So that's, in the top 5, the fourth top. And, one thing that they're talking about now is with commodity prices dropping in the agricultural field. That's what is horrible about farming. Like, you plant corn and you don't really know what it's going to sell for when it's done. I mean, fortunately, before I go put a roof on, I know what we've got it sold for. So,
and that's kind of goes along with natural disasters, especially since we've just had tornadoes. And luckily enough, it didn't cause damage to really any fields here. But falling commodity prices, natural disasters, harming crops and livestock, increased farm debt, labor shortages, and trade disputes have made it so hard for agriculturalists, and that's some of the main factors that's kind of contributing to the mental health crisis in rural America.
Right. So how are you going about to invite adults? I mean, I know the FFA will open it up to for the kids, or the kid version or the kid part of it, but how are you going about advertising to get more adults in there?
Well, you're kind of hoping that this podcast would kind of be an what's the word I'm looking for? Would kind of be the way to kind of kick it off a little bit. And then we're going to post it on the FFA Facebook. Mr. Cook's going to share it on the school social media pages. I'm going to obviously share it on my own personal pages. My family hopefully will as well. And so kind of doing it that way, and of course spreading it through word of mouth, awesome. and speaking with agriculturalists in our community and other people.
Have you let the 4-H extension know and that stuff?
I haven't actually, and that was kind of my next thing to reach out to, is just because it's been a little busy lately with FFA, and obviously 4-H signups have just finally gone out.
I mean, we're all last minute kind of people, so if you start talking about it in May, it's not gonna. Yeah. you better wait till it gets closer to time. But no, absolutely, and like I said, we'll push it out the best, the most we can. Maybe get other FFA local, hopefully. Surrounding chapters. I'm horrible today. Just to get it pushed out there. But what are some of the signs, what people are most likely to notice, when something's off, for the typical farmer?
So for the best, the people that are going to notice it more likely are those people that they have regular contact with. So their family, farm employees, vets, even your feed store workers, or any local affiliates, so like the Indiana Soybean Alliance, just people that you have regular contact with, are probably going to be the most likely to help notice those signs.
Right, absolutely.
And if we can get in, because one of another kind of factor that we kind of look at is that farming culture kind of celebrates a do-it-yourself mentality. And that kind of is pretty, those don't work well together with mental health. And so making kind of opening that up so you can talk about it, and that's hopefully kind of what this conference will do.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, and especially with the age of the average farmer, they just, they don't talk about their feelings, and and it's just, unfortunately, it's a it's a real thing, and whatever that looks like, it's not positive for the future or anything at all. So absolutely, and there's other resources that hopefully people will reach out to, and but yeah, the do-it-yourself mentality. I mean, that's just a farming mentality. You've got to some days, like you've got to get up and check cows in the middle of the night or whatever it is, So it's what's made a farmer, but that doesn't always mean it's the
best way to do it.
It's the best thing. And then I guess, what are some of the ways to get rid of that stigma?
I would say kind of the best way is just to open it up with family members. Don't keep it a kind of a hush topic. Sit down with your family once a week and have a conversation. Using more accessible language. So instead of mental health or behavioral health, we use things like wellness and stress, and making it a more inclusive and I guess kind of a soft reference, and kind of using that. But I think the biggest way that we can do this is just to normalize that mental health is something that should be addressed, and like it's not something to be ashamed of.
Right. So, what for your Living to Serve plan? Like, is this the only thing? Are you doing other research for mental health? What's that look like?
So it's something that I try and keep very well read on. Any new articles that come out, I'm subscribed to Magnetic Ag, and they just recently, in their episode yesterday, released some more information about that, which I haven't officially gotten the time to read the full articles. But so I try and keep up on the latest and greatest.
Latest and greatest?
Yep, that's the one I'm looking for. And try and keep up with those new statistics and facts. And then I hope that maybe we can do this more than just this year and maybe make it a yearly thing or something like that. But as of right now, this is kind of just the way to step into it and see where this goes. And, if we aren't able to hold this program next year, maybe holding something similar, right, or branching out and doing it in schools or inviting other FFA chapters. And I've kind of made that my platform as a chapter officer, and I'm slated as a district officer. So kind of using those platforms to kind of spread awareness about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's your chapter office?
I'm student advisor.
What are you slated for district?
Secretary.
Awesome. When does the district elections happen?
Those happen at state convention in June, so that should take place, I think, June 19th.
So a month away.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. No, I mean that is great. What is so? Learning to Serve program, which a lot of people don't even know. Don't even realize how active FFA members are, and how a lot of initiative comes from here. Another resource that I know of that I would recommend most definitely reaching out or following, Dr. John Deloney.
Okay.
He's actually works for Dave Ramsey. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey guy. You'll hear me talk about it a million times, but he talks a lot about mental health. He talks a lot about men, especially. He talks about, and some of his is business related too. We just heard him at speak, and talks about what is enough, and maybe that ties back to agriculture, because I get it. Farmers, they want to farm more ground. They have to make ends meet. And you got to stop and realize, like, where is enough at? Like, where enough here? Is it here or is it here? And but Dr. John Deloney also says, like, hey, we need you business owners, farmers, construction owners, all the business owners, not just it's kind of scary to see that construction's number 2, being in construction, but we also need us guys to push through, deal with the crap, because people need jobs, and he'll even say that in his closing remarks, like, hey guys, I need you. I got 2 kids growing up in this world are going to need jobs too. So that's the unique balance, there is like, how hard do you push just to get stuff done. Fortunately, this spring's been nice for them of getting the crops put in, which is beneficial. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I kind of think is another way we can help kind of get rid of the stigma is, having not just, maybe for example, the FFA chapter here and Spark spreading mental health, make it so companies in the area have something similar, or to kind of go from within local businesses to break it down.
Right.
And get mental health services integrated with other existing services.
Oh, absolutely. So, no, we appreciate your time to come in here. Is there anything else you want to add? Like you said, you're going to push it on FFA, social media. We're going to help push it. The high school is going to help push it. What way can our audience help you out to get people butts in the seats for you, pretty much?
I guess the biggest way would just be to kind of share it on social media, get the word out there. If you signed up, refer a friend. We have to have hopefully around 20 people to actually make this program come to life, but we cannot have more than 30. So once people do start signing up, we are at kind of a window there. But so just encourage others to sign up yourself, and that's, I think, kind of the biggest thing is just getting the word out there and getting people to sign up. And if they're hesitant, urge them to do it. It's going to be a great program. I'm really excited for it. My advisors are super excited for it. So I think it'll be something really interesting we get the chance to do.
Well, and, I'll just go ahead and say this. If you're going to sign up, bring another friend. Don't just invite them, just go pick their butts up, and bring them, support the local youth that's willing to give back, to their community. So thank you very much for your time. And guys, I just want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, I'll even go ahead and say it, like if you're in a different field and mental health is an issue, like come out, you will for surely, come away with something beneficial to help. So thank you for your time, ma'am.
Thank you.